How do you say it?
Lejeune.
Bonjour to you too. But
hello and welcome to episode 4 of the first LCFC podcast. Once again, we'll cover the big Leicester City talking points. Tonight we're going to be looking back at a convincing win up at the John Smith Stadium against Huddersfield. The Europa League run-in once again, where we're going to try and put our necks on the line and predict exactly where we think the table will finish up. And also, we're looking at your predictions as well to see just how different we are, if at all. And then finally, looking ahead to a game on Friday Night Lights against Newcastle United. My name's Jamie Thorpe, and I'm very pleased to be hosting once again, and also delighted to be joined by my other two LCFC admins, Christian Mosen and Edward Noon.
Hello there.
Ed is midway through his dinner, in case you couldn't hear that. So we'll get straight into it then, and we'll look at the Huddersfield game. Convincing 4-1 win. And overall, another good team performance. Chris, what did you make of the game?
Yeah, no, I think I'd just like to draw reference. I did predict 4-0 in this one, so I am very happy with that prediction. And I think it went basically as expected. I think all three of us thought it'd be relatively easy. The only risk being, are Huddersfield going to play with the shackles off? Are they going to play with freedom? And the answer to that was, well, no. I think they started well, maybe the first 3 or 4 minutes, but as soon as we got our foot on the ball, I think it was pretty much cruise control. I don't think we had to get out of third or fourth gear, really. And I think 4-1 probably is a modest scoreline. It could have been 5 or 6 for me.
Well, it's good to see us finally doing the business against the lower league sides. I think a lot of people might say write off recent results, but these were teams that we weren't beating earlier in the season. Ed, how much do you credit Brendan Rodgers with our upturn in fortunes?
Tough one. Well, as a psychologist, correlation does not equal causation. However, I think you've got to say it's not a chance occurrence that since Rodgers has come in, changed the mentality a little bit, changed the way we're playing football, that we have actually been playing significantly better, and our results have also been significantly better. So I've got to take my hat off to him. We all most of us got excited when he took over, but you never really know whether they're going to hit the ground running or whether it was going to take to the end of the season. We're going to see until the start of next term, sort of his philosophy kicking in. But it was almost straight off the bat. Yeah, to get a result against Watford wasn't great, but since then, we've put in some great performances, especially going to Turf Moor and playing near enough a whole game with 10 men and getting a win. This completely dominant performance, and then the game against Bournemouth as well, clean sheet, and they're a decent attacking side. So it really is coming together nicely at a great time of the season as well. So got to take my hat off to him. It's a great time to be a Leicester fan again. We were talking before earlier in the season, it was a bit, being a Leicester fan wasn't as easy as it had been in recent years, with all the glory and the fantastic things happening. The football wasn't great, the results weren't great, but now it's hard not to be positive and hoping that good times are upon us once more.
Yeah, so on Facebook, when we were asking for our followers questions or comments for the pod, Chris Hand makes a great point, and he says that the whole feeling around the club has changed in the atmosphere, the optimistic way fans and players are adapting to the style of football. Chris, is that something that you'd buy into, particularly the change in style?
Yeah, I think the results reflect that. I think the optimism around the club is reflected in the times we live in. I think social media is a big indicator. I think all the negativity, or at least 99.9% of it, has disappeared. I don't know, it's always refreshing when you get a new manager in, but I think there's something different about Brendan Rodgers. I think he's an esteemed manager. He's come from Scotland, where he's had, well, just success after success, but obviously we're not going to judge him on that. But no, I think he's come here with a mission. He's got a very talented young squad, and I think it's exciting, because I think we all do genuinely believe that, one, we can qualify for the Europa League, and 2, next season we might be knocking on the door for the top 6.
You know what I'm thinking about Rodgers? You've got to give him credit because he's not exactly changed the actual players on the pitch. The team that we're playing with now is very, very similar to the majority of what Puel was playing. There might be the odd player in, but it's pretty much the same 11. So even if it was, he's giving the players sort of a fresh booster. They've got their attitude together. They've got their heads down, wanting to play, change the tactics a little bit. But it just seems to all be coming together at once, and it's really refreshing.
Yeah, I do agree with that as well, Ed, because I think it shows how good a manager is that he's come in, and inevitably it was a depleted, a down heart, maybe negative dressing room, and he's picked us up. And like you said, using the exact same 11 players or same 16 players, he's managed to galvanise and get us playing this like exciting, like expansive brand of football again. I think he must be credited for that.
Yeah, so he seems, I think you guys alluded to it, the fact that maybe he's getting the most out of certain players and starting to play to their strengths a little bit more with more subtle changes rather than a complete overhaul. And one of the players that seems to have benefited from that most is Jamie Vardy. So another 2 goals to add to what has been an impressive haul for him in recent games. And that puts him up to 7th scorer in the Premier League, but also moves him ahead of Leicester legend Gary Lineker in our all-time top goal scorers with 104. Looking at that list, there's some legendary names on there. Arthur Chandler and Arthur Rowley, obviously far and away at the top with 273 and 265, and with the greatest respect to Vardy, I can't quite see him getting there. But 3, 4, and 5 are 156 with Ernie Hine, Derek Hines on 117, and Arthur Lockhead on 114. Just how high, Krys, do you think Jamie Vardy can go, taking into account his age and the stage he's at in his career?
It's a good question, but the thing is, he doesn't show any signs of sort of slowing down. I think the way he plays, it's quite erratic, if you like, but I think it's something that is relatively age-proof, whereby he might not be consuming that much energy for like 100% of the match, but there's those like 20, 30-meter sprints that he's just giving like every 5 or 6 minutes or so. So I think he might continue. Obviously, if he stays on penalties, stays fit and plays 90 minutes, I think if he keeps going at between 15 and 20 goals a season for another 3-4 seasons, then what's that, 180 goals we're looking at? So I see him doing that personally.
To be honest, I can't see why I can't do some mad Cristiano Ronaldo superhuman thing where he does continue into his mid-30s and just doesn't, as you can see with many players, sometimes it's really early, like the late 20s, or as soon as they hit 30 they start to tail off. But as you've sort of seen with Vardy, the last few seasons, he's been relatively consistent. I've got it in front of me now. The worst season, the title defence season, which was pretty dire for most people, but he still got 13 goals. He got in the league. He got 20 the year after, and he's got 15 already this year. And look, he's 32. He's not like a young mid-20s with his whole career in front of him. Perhaps it could be argued maybe the fact he did spend his younger years in the lower leagues. He's still actually got many miles left in his legs because he's not been a professional. He wasn't a professional footballer until about 5 or 6 years ago. It's like maybe that's going to work in our advantage now, because the day that Vardy isn't our top striker, I think is going to be a very sad day for all Leicester fans, because it's kind of mental. We got him from non-league, and arguably the best, well, for me, the best striker in modern times. He's just brilliant, like so consistent, and I do think he can get that 3rd place in all-time Leicester City goal scorers. What's that? 52 goals.
He would need 157 goals overall.
53 goals, sorry. Let's say he plays for another 3 seasons, 20 goals a year. It's pushing it, but look, in the last 3, he's got 24, 16, and 23. So
Is that in all competitions as well, Ed, or are you looking at Premier League?
All competitions. He got 24, 16, 23, and now he's on 15. So he'd need just under 20 goals a season for the next 3. Or if he stays here for 4 or 5 years, obviously that's 10 to 15 goals a year. I think that should be a target, because that really would cement his legacy as he already is for me, as he is probably for 99% of Leicester fans, like an all-time legend. But if he can get to that top 3 of all-time Leicester City goal scorers, that's in today's day and age, with the quality of football the Premier League has and the standing of Leicester City Football Club in that sort of hierarchy. That's an amazing achievement.
Yeah, that would certainly cement his position as a Leicester legend if he wasn't already. That would put him right up there. And just quickly, because there's a debate that often rages on social media about the best player outside the top 6. Now, there are a few players at stake that can possibly stake a claim, and I'm absolutely not having Wilfried Zaha or Felipe Anderson in this bracket. But for you guys, very quickly, start with you, Krys. Would you say that Vardy is, or is at least very close?
I think he has to be included in that argument, in any serious argument at least. I think, like you said, people saying Zaha or anyone in that bracket, I don't think they can really justify that if you push it to him in an argument. But Vardy, just 2 seasons ago, he was being linked with basically the elite football clubs in the world. Just last season, still Atletico Madrid were looking at him to suit their style of play. I think, you'd be hard pushed to find a better player, and I think you'd definitely be hard pushed. You won't find a better striker outside the top 6. Again, another player who falls into Zaha's category is Jimenez. He's literally come out of nowhere for like a season. He cannot be banded in the same category for me. I think, I think Vardy it's not just his ability on the pitch. I think it's his work ethic. I think it's his desire. I think it's his self-criticism as well. I think he's the first to punish himself, or literally punch himself, if he does something wrong. So, I think he's the best striker outside the top 6. I think I'd be willing to have an argument about best player, but definitely the best striker.
I agree. I think Jimenez is, he's had a great season, but he's got to do it for another one at least. We've seen a few players that have been a flash in the pans or one season wonders, and we'll have to wait and see on that one. Well, we'll just move on quickly to a couple of the other individuals that impressed. One in particular, which I'm very happy to hold my hands up and say I might have got it wrong, who I slated on social media for a couple of poor performances, especially after the Watford game, which was Kasper Schmeichel. But the last few games, he's been magnificent. And Ed, I think you were talking to us before about a couple of big saves he made in the game against Huddersfield.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly who the attacker was taking the shot, because it's pretty easy to forget Huddersfield attackers, because you don't really need to concentrate on them unless you want to foul them in the box, which was debatable in itself. However, having watched the highlights, he made a really great save at 2-1. It did appear that we're plain sailing until they got that goal. And after that, there was a little period where either team could have scored. And that was a really big turning point, because having made that save and kept us ahead, obviously we went on and scored another 2. However, if we were then to concede and threw away 2-0 lead, even against a team performing as poorly as Huddersfield, you took away 2-0 lead away, you really are going to be struggling to hold on to that. Big save. And Kasper, rightly or wrongly, who I would say is another Leicester legend, has come under criticism this season. However, for me, ever since the sort of day he signed, I remember the very first season he joined Leicester, and people were saying he was making the shot stopping that we just hadn't had that sort of consistency for a while. And I know we were in the Championship at the time, so we weren't getting the best keepers, obviously. But whilst a lot of people are upset with sort of his distribution at times, I just think he really is. He's a solid keeper, isn't he? He's been so good. He's been here for so many years. that perhaps it does make it hard to critique him at times. But was it under Martin Allen that we signed him?
I thought it was Sven, weren't it?
I just remember it was someone that we just signed loads of players and they're all absolute gut. But he's been here the whole time. Since June 2011, under Sven. I think that's been a great signing despite his recent faults. Absolutely solid. 8 years.
I'd agree with you, and I think he's shown his value in the last few games, definitely. One of the other players that just wanted to touch on was Soyuncu, who came in for his first game in about 3 months after Evans dropped out the squad, and Maguire obviously celebrating the brilliant news about his first child, and didn't seem to put, obviously, apart from what was a very contentious penalty decision, didn't seem to put a foot wrong. He had the most touches by any outfield player, and won pretty much everything that came his way. So that he's a player to keep an eye on for sure.
I feel a bit sorry for him, to be honest, because he's come in. He's an international footballer, isn't he? He's played for Turkey. And it's like, how does he get a chance, to be honest, in the first team? Like, whilst Maguire's here, I don't see him getting dropped. Morgan, it's not going to be first choice anymore, but very solid if and when. You got Evans, who 2 years ago was strongly linked with a move to Man City, and he's getting on a bit, but he's still solid. We'll have Benkovic coming back next year, who's trusted by Rodgers, and it's like we've just spent a load of money on this guy, and he's 22, but he's got 22 international caps, 50 appearances in the Bundesliga.
Yeah, to me that says a lot about the club trying to possibly prepare for life without Harry Maguire. And also it was interesting to hear Rodgers' comments about Benkovic in the week. They weren't as positive as I expected, actually. He essentially said that they're going to have another look at him in pre-season, and then they will assess it from there. So, but at least it's nice to see that we've got the cover in that position, though, I suppose. One player who I think we're all agreed that we've absolutely got to sign is Youri Tielemans. Krys, I know that we spoke a few weeks back, just after he'd come in, and you were a bit unsure about the 40 million price tag that had been put on him. What do you make of that now?
Yeah, I'll have to eat my words on that. I mean, I think he's obviously had a fair amount of time now to prove himself, and I think we'll be lucky to get him for 40 million. I think his agent, just like any agent, will be clever about it, and he'll be drumming up a bidding war, unfortunately for us. That's both on transfer fee and wages. I think I won't be surprised if he shoots up to be the top paid player as well. But I can see not all the top six, but maybe 2 or 3 of them sniffing around him as well. So I think between 40 and 60 million would still be a bargain. There's not enough superlatives for me to praise him with. He is a class act, and he would settle right into that midfield next season. Absolutely.
Yeah, he's made a massive difference. I think he's got to be the number one priority in the summer, ahead of absolutely everything else, especially if Leicester are looking to compete seriously for Europe, which brings us very neatly, almost like we planned this, on to the discussion for the top 7. So FA Cup fixtures as well have gone our way in Leicester's hunt for potential Europa League football. Man City are progressing through to the final, so we look all fingers crossed for a Man City win there. But we ran a poll earlier on our Twitter account speaking about whether we as Leicester fans wanted Europa League qualification. Krys, I believe that 23% of the respondents basically said they were either unsure about it or simply didn't want it. Can you maybe break down why you think that might be the case?
I think ultimately people are unsure because they're directly comparing us to Burnley. And whether or not that's a good thing or not, I categorically say that's a bad thing. One, we've got previous experience in a greater champion in the European competition in the Champions League, and arguably with a weaker squad, an aging squad. We've now got a young, frivolous, exciting, attacking team who would relish the chance of playing any European football. we're bigger, more established than Burnley. Our owners have a bigger goal than Burnley's owners. Burnley were overachieving qualifying for the Europa League. I don't think we'd be overachieving. Brendan Rodgers has led Celtic through multiple European campaigns, albeit, well, failed campaigns, if you like, but still, he's got European now, so he knows how to prepare a squad for the European competitions. And ultimately, something I've said in previous podcasts is, rather than having a pre-season where we're playing against, I don't know, Lincoln or Hinckley or someone like that, we can play a competitive pre-season, start early in July. Yeah, it won't be against the greatest opposition, but when it comes to the playoff round, like we might have someone like Olympiacos, it's a real test. It's a real test. They're the teams we want to be playing against. It'll be good for match fitness. We'll still be able to examine different players like Benkovic, like you said, maybe in an earlier round. But I think it is purely better than a normal pre-season. I think we've got enough squad depth, and I think we can really, really give it a good blast in the Europa League.
Oh, pretty convincing. Sign me up for Europa League European Tour once again. So what we thought we'd do, maybe slightly ambitiously, is have a look now that we're into the real business end of the season, is have a quick look through those teams that are competing for that coveted top 7 spot to see who is favourite for doing that. So Leicester City's last 5 fixtures, I think we'll try and agree fairly quickly if we can on how we think we're going to go. So Newcastle is obviously, we'll preview them in a bit more detail in a minute. But we'll start with you, Ed, for the Newcastle at home. How do you see that going for Leicester?
3 points to the Blue Foxes.
Blue Foxes?
Yeah, I've learned Leicester City have a blue shirt. My colour blindness is not that severe.
That's a hot take coming to you from the First LCFC podcast that Leicester City do indeed play in blue. Krys, would you agree with that one?
Yeah, I think it's 2-3 nil. Yeah, definitely.
Okay. West Ham, Ed, again, what are you saying?
I think this is going to be harder than people are imagining because West Ham are on a poor bit of form and they are away from home, and it will be away from home for us. However, I do feel we'll probably just sneak it like a 2-1. So yeah, another 3 points there.
Right, Krys, Arsenal.
Arsenal, right? Yeah, I mean Arsenal at a 10th. Well, they're very mid-table, so 10th best away form in the league. I don't think that we've got anything to fear in terms of them coming here. They've conceded as many goals as Cardiff have away from home. I think we can beat them on our own turf. That is 3 points for me.
That's a genuinely surprising statistic. I really did not know that about the away goals conceded. So, I mean, hopefully those 3 will put us in a good position. But obviously, we travel rather to Man City at a very crucial time in what will be their title run-in. Ed, I mean, I'm not optimistic. How do you see that one going?
I was gonna say no points for self-explanatory reasons. However, if I fire up the fixture list, where I think what we need to consider for these end of season games is where the Champions League or Europa League semi-finals sit, because if that match is sandwiched, so a semi-final is the 30th and the 7th, so the semi-final second leg is 3 days after we play Man City. So if we're assuming we get there, Man City get there, are they really going to want to play their first 11 at home against the team they see as a lesser team? I'm not saying that makes us favourites or even we've got a very strong chance of winning, but it's certainly something to consider with these end of season games against these bigger teams. They're going to have, Man City are in the race for the title, but I suspect with Pep rotation, if they're in the semi-finals, they're going to have an eye elsewhere. So I'm going to say.
I do agree with you, and I think that on a similar note, it's not just down to us and Man City. I think Liverpool might have bottled the title by then. And not hopefully, I don't care who wins between them. But if that is the case and Man City have already won the title, I think, they're likely to probably rest, 10 or 11 players against Leicester City. And that would give us a real chance, for example.
I'm just looking when the Europa League is for should Arsenal and Chelsea, because they're the two home games we have at the end. So the semi-final, should Arsenal get there, is the week after we play them. So Arsenal also have a double game week in the week before. So they play in 6 days, in the space of 6 days, or 7, depending on whether it's a Saturday or Sunday game. They'll play Crystal Palace at home, Wolves away, and then us away, which sort of, I think Krys was over-egging it with the confidence. I would have took a point at home to Arsenal, but at the back.
You can't back that up. Look at their away form. It's dreadful. It is dreadful. Like, watched them against Everton yesterday.
They've got 16 more points than us.
Yeah, because of home form, saying away from home, they are dreadful, feeble, fearless, sluggish yesterday. I just don't see them coming close to an attack. If we really push it to them, I don't see them getting anything. And that is as confident as I am.
The more I look at the fixtures, the more I agree with you, because they have a Europa League game, then Palace, then Wolves, then us. In the space of 10 days or 11, they have 4 matches, of which 3 they're going away to Naples, away to Wolves, and away to Leicester. I actually think we'll win Arsenal now, and then we've digressed from the Man City chat.
As I put Krys's prediction for Arsenal, I will pick yours for Man City then, Ed. Are you saying a draw?
I'm saying 0, unfortunately. But I think it'll be closer than many people would. Maybe like a 2-1, something like that.
Yeah, I could see that. And I'll pick for Chelsea on the last game of the season. I will give you a draw for that one, because I think we have got us in it to draw with Chelsea. Right, so that is a total of 10 points for the Foxes. So leaving us obviously on 57. Let's try and we'll try and race through the other teams, and we'll get something definitive out of it. So, Krys, if you want to do Wolves, we'll go through it very quickly. So, Saints.
I have got it up in front of me. Right, I think they'll draw against Saints. I think they'll beat Brighton. I think they'll draw against Arsenal. They'll draw against Watford. They'll beat Fulham, and they'll lose to Liverpool, giving them 9 points. That's just my prediction. That's why I jotted down in front of me.
Like it. Ed, do you want to do the same for Everton?
So Everton, Fulham. Well, Everton, you'd think would win that. Man U, draw. Crystal Palace, away, probably draw. Burnley at home, win. Spurs away, lose. So what's that? 3, 6.
8 points.
No, it's not. 3. Oh, yeah, it is. It's 8. Sorry. Can't count.
And then Watford, finally. I think I'll do this one, seeing as it's only fair in the interest of parity. I could see them. They've got Arsenal. I'll give them a draw against Arsenal. I think Troy Deeney will bag in that game, and they'll beat Huddersfield, beat Southampton. Wolves is a tough game to pick. I think they'll lose that one. Lose to Chelsea, because they're optimistic, but they'll smash West Ham, which gives them 9 points. So that would see Leicester City sitting pretty, followed by Wolves and Watford, then Everton, which matches almost exactly as per our polls put out on Twitter earlier today, which had Leicester City and Wolves only separated by what is likely to go right down to the wire, probably in goal difference, according to our followers, followed by Everton and then Watford as well. So, yeah, it's hard to call, and it could very well be neck and neck. But the important thing is obviously that we need 3 points at home to Newcastle, who obviously travel down to us on Friday Night Lights. Krys, looking at Newcastle then, what do you make of their season?
I think there's that stat going around, isn't there? They were exactly the same before. Was it this weekend? Like literally points, goals for, and goals against. So I mean, interpreting that the way it is, I think they've not made any progress. I think they're underachieving. they're a much bigger club than what they should be doing. They should be in the top 10 comfortably. I don't fear them. I don't think they possess any players that can really open us up. I think they're more of a Route 1 team. I think Rondon's their most dangerous player. And I think if we have Wes Morgan or Harry Maguire, someone like that, just on him, then I think we can easily thwart the threat of Newcastle. That's my verdict.
Ed, is there anyone? I think their squad is an interesting one, mainly because I think a lot of them are bloody average. But Ed, is there anyone out of there that stands out for you as being a bit of a danger player or someone to keep an eye on?
Well, Krys picked on Rondon, which is an obvious person to pick out purely as top goal scorer, and he's never really been incredible in the Prem, but for them lower mid-table sides like he was at West Brom, he's just solid, big man up front, big, strong, can finish. So, but like Krys says, put a big guy against him, make it a real physical encounter, and I don't think it'll be too much hassle, but obviously it won't be it's probably never easy coming up against a guy like that. Also, Almiron has impressed since he's came from the MLS, which is semi-surprising really given the step up, but he really does appear to have made that step quite easily, which probably shows the standard of player he actually is. So it's not like he's come from nowhere. He's got a fair few caps for Paraguay, who aren't the worst international team, but certainly someone to look at. Other than that, you got players like Shaw, who's solid in defence. I'm aware one of their defenders got quite a bad injury at the weekend. I won't try and pronounce his name because
Lejeune.
How do you say it?
Lejeune.
Bonjour to you too. But so yeah, I don't know if he's a consistent starter for them, but if he is, and they're having to bring in a reserve striker, that's certain reserve defence centre back. That certainly should have Vardy licking his lips to think he's got someone who's not necessarily match fit or he's not been playing. So they're not doing great, but let's not pretend they've not got any credible players. We should win, sure, but we do need to keep an eye on their better, more attacking players for sure.
Yeah, then they are a team that you need to be wary of, definitely, and it does worry me seeing the name John Joe Shelby, because there's something about him which makes you think, oh, he's just destined to score against us, isn't he? I don't even know if he's fit at the minute, but he still will manage.
I think I saw he was on the bench recently.
You never know. So let's have some predictions. And obviously, Krys, you were very, very close last week, and arguably, if the referee had been on form, you probably would have been right. So you can go first. Official prediction with goal scorers, please.
I will go 2-0 Leicester. 2-0, but a wholly dominant performance. Vardy with both goals, and just comfortable, nice afternoon nice evening at the King Power. 2-0.
Sounds good. To me, Ed, what about you then?
Just to call you out, giving Krys all the credit, I did say Huddersfield would score, lest we forget.
Fancy football brain activated.
It would be 3-1, so I was only one off. For this game, I was actually going to say 2-0 as well, but so I'm not boring, I'm going to put my fancy head on and say it will be 3-1, so another goal let in. Goals, you got to look at Vardy again for a brace, and I fancy Gray to chip in eventually. It's about time for another one, I reckon.
He's due a goal. So keep Jamie Vardy in your fantasy team if you've got him. I definitely have. I will give you 2-1 purely because I've already said that John Joe Shelby's somehow going to score. So I think he'll be a fairly dominant performance. It certainly needs to be if we're going to keep looking at the table. So just quickly, something for us to finish on. A question that we were asked on Facebook by Costa was the hope for this season and the next. Obviously, we've covered this season, but just it was interesting if we do finish 7th. Obviously, that is the best of the rest. And looking up the table, Krys, I know that you've got a fairly strong opinion on this. Is there anyone that you see in that top 6? I know this is ambitious, and this has a lot to do with our performance, but is there anyone you can see in that top 6 that you are back to drop out of said group?
I have probably made it obvious in this podcast, and I don't actually have anything against Arsenal, but I do think they are the most vulnerable team to drop out of that top 6. Purely basing this, let's look at their recent starting 11, a few comparisons. So you've got players like Kolasinac, Maitland-Niles, Socrates and Mustafi making up a makeshift back 4 or back 5 for them. Compare that to our options. I don't think they're any better. I don't think that back 4 would get into top 10 teams like without argument. I think then you look through the midfield, you got players like Guendouzi and El Neni playing yesterday. Again, no match for our midfield. I think it only gets competitive when it comes to the final third. Obviously, you got Ozil, Mkhitaryan, Lacazette, Obama. Okay, you can make a fair argument for them, but even then, someone like Ozil, he is just a feeble player now. He's just a shadow of the player he was a couple of seasons ago. But yeah, I think Arsenal are really struggling to keep the defence watertight. I think that if they carry on in that same vein next year, they'll concede too many goals to stay in that top 6. And I do predict that they will be a lot closer to 7th than whatever the 15 or 16 point gap is at the moment. And I think we can give it a real good go. And teams like Wolves or Watford will fancy their chances as well. I think like Troy Deeney says in interviews, I think Arsenal lack bottle. I think, I do think that it's only a matter of time before they get seriously found out and go on a real bad run. So Arsenal to drop out the top 6 for me next year.
Could I add to that, please?
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't for a second disagree that Arsenal are the weakest of the top 6. They are relatively solid and consistently better than the rest, other than Arsenal, really, in my most humble of opinion. However, if Leicester City comes 7th and we qualify for the Europa League, I think having a Europa League campaign, concentrating on that and expecting any more than 7th in the league is a monumental task that I don't think is something that's really achievable this season.
I disagree, though. I think that's a small club mindset that someone like Burnley would have had. I think you're competing against a team that has got a worse away record than Wolves, Watford, and Crystal Palace. I mean, it's Crystal Palace, someone managed by Roy Hodgson, and I know their home form is all that's keeping them going. I don't think they're good enough anymore.
They've lost 7 games this season. There's only 2 teams that have lost less.
Yes, but we had Claude Puel. It's not even a fair argument. They need to seriously back that squad up. If they qualify for the Champions League, they're not getting out of the group. But then again, if they qualify for the Champions League, they might attract better players. If they keep that same squad next year, they will not be 15 points clear come this time next year.
Well, there you go then.
That's my opinion.
Confident.
Yeah, very big opinion. I think if anyone from Arsenal Fan TV does happen to be listening, Krys is available for bookings. Please do get in touch.
We were talking about the best player outside the top 6. I've just found an article with a top 11 outside the top 6, and there's a fair few Leicester players. So I thought you'd have an interest in rattling through it quickly. So in goal, Kasper Schmeichel. Can you think of another keeper better, consistently outside?
I think you could have a good argument for, England's supposed number 1, Jordan Pickford. I disagree, but I think people would come with him.
Okay. No, so number 2, right back, Ricardo Pereira.
Yeah, unquestionably. I think Crystal Palace fans might have something to say about that with Wan-Bissaka's season, but I think as an offensive fullback, certainly Pereira for me.
Left back, Ben Chilwell.
I think that's very questionable. Again, not a criticism of him. I think, again, I can't think of some off the top of my head, but I think that is a vulnerable choice, but fair play.
Who's there? Johnny, Digne.
I think Digne's had a good season, but Yeah, Chilwell's a fair shout. I'm not criticising him. I think that at times he has shown his vulnerability, but overall, very good season.
Centre-back pairing, Harry Maguire and Nathan Ake.
Ake's an interesting shout. I can see he's had a good season.
2 centre mids. This was before Tielemans came, so bear in mind this was out of form Leicester. So they've got Decore,
big player,
and Ruben Neves.
It's hard to disagree. I think you chuck Moutinho in there as well, to be fair, for his class. He only won Euros, 3 years ago? So, yeah, good players.
Right wing, Wilfried Zaha.
He's always there or thereabouts. You got to include him, yeah.
Left wing, Felipe Anderson.
No chance, not for me.
Overrated for me as well.
Then attacking mid-centre, Richarlison, who's at the definition of fair weather player. Did it last season as well, didn't he? At the start, he was incredible, and then he never really picked up. And then up from Jamie Vardy.
Yeah, wins that hands down.
5 out of 11, which really does show got just about on paper best of the rest, surely, if we're making up half the best team. But yeah, just thought I'd share that with you as we were talking about the best player.
One last note on that, and this is a rough guess, but it's not beyond the realms that Leicester could have 5 starting, well, on a very good day, or at least 5 squad players in an England team. If you're looking at Barnes, Maddison, Maguire, Chilwell, and no, obviously not Vardy anymore. What's that, 4?
Gray.
Yeah, Gray, 5.
And Chowdhury's in the under-21s now as well.
So I think we're in a position that maybe like Spurs were 3 years ago, and obviously we can see that they've really established themselves now. So I think top 6 definitely is a realistic shout for next year.
It's very ambitious, but I think with the potential in the club and the investors and the way the owners want, I think we've only got to look upwards. So I should have asked earlier: is there no other business, lads? No,
I'm just giving you all my business.
Nope.
Ed has given everyone his business. So please do listen again next week for the return of Ed Noon's Throngcometer, which I know we've missed this week. But that does round up this week's pod finally. So once again, thank you for listening. We really appreciate everyone that has listened to us so far in our infantile stages, but we really enjoyed doing it. Please feel free to send us feedback or suggestions for next week at First Rails FC on Facebook or on Twitter, or even send us a message as well. So hopefully we'll see you next week for episode 5.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for listening, guys.